It's Friday night. Welcome. I'm just having a quick look through the chat. I'm sorry I'm here a little bit late tonight. Just a few minutes. We had a little bit of a last minute panic. My husband got called into work, and so that changes our whole Friday night. We had it all planned out, and it didn't quite turn out that way. Oh, thank you, Cherie. That's very nice of you. Thank you very much. Oh, you guys were very early tonight, 20 minutes early. Hi, Donna. Hi, Kay. How you doing? I think I'm seeing you next week, aren't I? That'll be good. It's cold in Kirrawee. It's cold on the Central Coast too, Margaret. So, yeah, I've got a couple of ideas of what I want to do tonight, but the big thing I want to do tonight is I want to tell you guys about my new online class. Yay! I have spent a lot of time on that this week, and I'm going to show you the projects tonight so you can see, if you're doing the class, what you're going to make. I think that's always nice. Hi, Sunny. Hi, Jenny. How you doing? Okay. Oh, I hate when it does that. It goes out of the chat. I don't know why. And I can't see. I think you can see me okay. I just can't see you. Am I correct? Yes. I don't know why. It flipped over to my... Let me try again. Come back to me. Hooray. Yes, I had a haircut. Thank you. I had a haircut not last Tuesday, the one before. So it's been a couple of weeks nearly. And it was the first time I'd had it cut since November last year. So it was way overdue. So, yeah, thank you very much. Thanks, guys. Thanks for the birthday wishes. That's lovely. All right. Just looking through to see if I've missed anything. Have I missed any important questions? Does anyone have anything? Someone was complaining they couldn't see something on the screen. Who was that? You're off to Fiji, Denise. How exciting. That's cool. On Sunday. Well, I hope it's lovely and warm. Much nicer than it is here right now. Jenny's on a laptop. So what problem are you having, Jenny? You want to read the chat? Yeah, sometimes that if you're reading the chat, you do miss out on stuff that's happening on the screen. And I miss out on the chat all the time because I'm concentrating on what I'm doing, and I can't always keep up with you guys because you chat. Too quick for me. Cherie, it's in the very first part of the mini. I'll tell you what page it's on. Right at the very front, it's kind of a cool lunchbox thing. It's called Nourish and Flourish. It's on page 5. Can you see it? So, yeah, page 5 of the new mini. This is the new mini, guys. Okay, not actually out to customers yet. If you're a demonstrator, you'll have one of these. My customers, so anyone who's placed an order with me in the last 12 months goes on my list to receive whatever is coming out. And I should have the minis. I've ordered them. They haven't come to me yet, but then I will sit down probably around about the 3rd week of this month and get them all in envelopes and mailed out to you guys. So if you've placed an order with me in the last 12 months, you should have one of these coming. So a bit exciting. And there's a celebration catalogue as well. You got it? Fantastic. That's really good. Yeah, I had a good week. How was yours, Michelle? Oh, hey, Lani. Nice to see you. And Bronwyn, hello. Exciting news for you, honey. I'm so happy for you. That's really good news. Oh, thanks, Nori. All right. So let's get started. I've got a couple of things to show you, but the first thing I'll do is talk about the class really quickly because I am going to do a white ink technique tonight, not one that's featured in the class, a different one because there are so many. Oh, thank you, everyone, for the beautiful birthday wishes. Full disclosure, too much information probably. I was 57 this week, so I'm actually getting a little bit close to the next magic number, but that's okay. Oh yeah, the new planner is exciting. That's in the new well, that's the new joining special in July for anyone who's interested in that, and I'll have that to show you very soon. Very cool. Okay, all right. So I'm going to switch over to the desk. I've got my cards here to show you, and then we're going to do a white ink technique to give you a bit of an idea. Oh, well, yeah, every year you get a little bit closer, don't you, Denise? And I'm catching up to you. Actually, I'll never completely catch up to you. Denise, we've got a couple of Denises here tonight. Denise McCabe and I share a birthday. We call ourselves birthday twins. And you said you're a little bit closer to the next big number than I am, but not much closer. There you go. All right, so let's switch over to the desk and show you these cards. All right, so I am doing a white ink technique class online this month. Now, I haven't run an online technique class before. I've been running in-person technique classes every month for about, I don't know, 12 years. Okay, so I've been doing technique classes for a long, long time, and surprisingly, occasionally I'll duplicate one, like not exactly, won't be the same projects, but I'll do a technique that I've done once before some years. For example, this month's was meant to be the bleaching technique, except the class didn't run because my son came down with COVID for the third time, so I had to cancel the class. And I am fine. My husband is fine. My daughter is fine. It's just my son that seemed to have got it. Hey there, Fran. And like I said, he's now had that 3 times. So who knows how this happens, but that meant I had to cancel the class. But the good news is an online class, I don't have to cancel. Even if something like that happens, I don't need to cancel an online class. So it is going live. I'm hoping tonight. I should have it. I'm planning on sitting down after this video and actually publishing the almost completed blog post that I've got about it with all the pictures, but you guys are going to get to see them first. So I have 4 projects, all using white ink techniques. We have this one here, and for this one I have used the Cottage Rose stamp set. So I think it's a really nice card. It turned out really pretty, and it uses a very simple white ink technique. Some of you have seen me do this particular technique before, so it won't be a surprise to you that have seen me before. But I'm hoping I might have a few people doing this class with me who are brand new to my classes. So that is the plan. Then card number 2 is this one. All right, so once again, this is a technique I've done previously, but I've done it a little bit differently here. Some of you might remember a few years ago I did a whitewashing technique which is white ink and water with the Magnolia stamp set, and I did a video with that. Well, this is essentially the same technique, except in this case, instead of using gold embossing, I've used white, but you could use gold if you wanted to. So you can really use any color embossing you like, but this one is on a grey granite base, and this one is this is a crumb cake base. So you can see the difference in the 2 neutrals there. I love both of them. They're both great colors to work with, but the grey granite is my current favorite. I really love this color. All right, then the third project, let's move them over. Third project is this one. This one is on a Starry Sky base. And you can see I've given my background here the white ink treatment, and I'm going to show how to do this one in the class as well. Thank you. I'm really happy with them. They seem to work. I mean, this is a favorite technique of mine. So, no, not 67, Nairi, 57. Don't give me another 2 years, please. 10 years. Goodness me. Hey, Sharon, how you going? You get to see the cards we're making this month. So these 3, and then one final one. There's 4 in this class. This one is a stencil or mask technique with white ink, and it's a 3D masking technique. So some of you may have seen me do some of these before, but these are the cards that we're doing in the class this month. Okay, now, as well as the 4 cards that we're going to make, and I will pre-record all the content for this so that you can watch them at a time to suit you. You'll receive the private or the unlisted YouTube links for them, so you have to actually purchase the class or the tutorial to do it. You don't get the link otherwise, that won't be public. But as well as that, I'm also going to provide a PDF with all the measurements, and then on top of that, I'm also going to have a resource document, like a reference document that actually is going to point you to lots of videos of lots of white ink techniques, because this is not even touching the surface of all the different things you can do with white ink. Okay, so oh, that's okay, Nori. That's okay, fine. You know, the funny thing is that my dad actually was telling all his friends when I was turning 50, my dad was running around telling all his friends that his daughter was turning 60 because he actually thought I was turning 60. So there you go. But that was when I was turning 50. So it's actually kind of funny. Thank you. I hope you like them. So there are two options, actually, well, kind of three. There's two options to the class. You can just do the tutorial only, and you'll receive the reference document, the PDF with the measurements, and also the all the links to the videos. Okay, so there'll be that information coming out to everyone who purchases the tutorial. The tutorial will be $20 Australian. Okay, to do all four. And then, as well as that, if you live in Australia and you're able to order, then when you order with me and your order is $50 or more, you will not only get those things that I've just mentioned, the tutorials, the reference document, and the measurements, but you'll also get all the supplies to make these cards. So you'll get all the cardstock pre-cut. All you've got to do is stamp it and stick it all together. Okay, and I will show you how to do all the white ink techniques. Obviously, you're going to need white ink. Okay, so everyone will need to have some type of white pigment ink in their collection. You don't have to have ours, so long as it's a white pigment ink, that's fine. If you don't have it, it's really easy to purchase, and I'll include the links to my online store below this. Also, there will be a link below to the to my blog post that has all the details. Okay, and there'll be a PayPal button there to pay for the people who are just purchasing the tutorial, and the link to the online store for the people who would like to place an order. Okay, now if you're in my team, thank you. I like the blue ones too. They turned out nice. Blue and white always looks good together. Okay. White ink is such a great thing, Cheryl, and I agree. Next order, you do have to get it because it's one of those things. Once you see, I mean, this is just, like I said, a small sample of what you can do with white ink. I've done so many cards with white ink over the years. I did a reel, some of you may have seen it in the last couple of days, showing how to do a misty forest with white ink and a blending brush. Okay, so, and I've done that before too. I have a video on YouTube about that one as well. So, yeah. So many ways. So there are lots and lots of things you can do with this, and I'm really excited to show them to you. All right. You just ordered the blue suite. I know, isn't it nice? So the two stamp sets that I'm using in this class are these two, but if you don't have them, that's okay. All right. You just need to have a line drawing flower stamp. You can have any line drawing stamp that you can color. So it has open petals that can be colored, and that's what I've used in both this card and that card. Is just this beautiful rose here. And I also use the greetings. This one and this one are both, there they are. Those two are both from this set. Okay. And then for this one, I just use the sentiments. I use the best wishes and happy thoughts here on this card, and you're on my mind on this card. And I also use the little bit of a splatter here. So if you didn't have this stamp set, it wouldn't matter. You'd still be able to make the cards and just use your own sentiments. Okay. So don't feel that you have to have these in order to do the class. That's great, Judy. Thank you. And thanks for your order today too. Judy kind of snuck in the door, and I let her order early for the class. So, so I do have a host code for this, and it will be listed for you on the blog page. Okay, so that'll all be there, and I'll make sure I include it on my Facebook posts as well. All right. So let's have a little talk about white ink today. So I actually have a couple of white ink pads, and the reason why I have more, I actually like to have two. Now, I'm not saying you have to have two, but there are some ink techniques that actually work better with a slightly drier pad. For example, chalkboard, if you're going to use some white sponging over the black background, you're best to have a drier ink pad. You don't want it to be too wet and end up with too much ink in the background. Okay, so that's a different technique, and I'll have a link to one of those videos for you as well. I guess the point is, I was chatting with my friend Susan, and as she said, you know, I have hundreds of videos online, okay, that I've been putting up for, you know, over 12 years. And thank you. And the reason why, and well, you know, they're just sitting there, and most of them don't get used all that often. And why not use them? You know, I've got so many white ink technique videos I've already made, and I'd love for people to have access to those and see how they can create different. So this resource document you're going to get is going to have it's going to have links. So it'll say, for example, the Misty Forest technique and the links to the video or videos that you can find that. Okay, so it's just an extra way of showing you some great techniques, but using content that I've already made. So that's the whole point of it. All right, so what I'm going to show you very quickly, when you buy a white ink pad, so these are older style pads. The new one is a bit squarer than this, okay? you might notice this is my, can you see this one is the inkier pad, this one's got more ink, this one is drier. Okay, so this one is great for chalkboard, this one is better for, say, embossing. But when you buy a white ink pad, it comes uninked and you get a refill with it. We were having so many problems with white ink in Australia leaking. Possibly it's the humidity factor, not really sure. But in Australia particularly, we had so many problems with white ink pads. And used to be very vanilla ink pads as well. In fact, my feeling was that we had so many leaky, very vanilla pads that's why they cancelled that color. But they've thankfully kept the white. Okay, so you'll need to ink your white ink pad when you first get it. And I'm going to do this one. And there's a couple of different ways to do this, but the white ink refill is different to your regular refills. Okay, this one, I don't know if you can hear it. It's a liquid. Okay, this one is more like, there's no sound because it's more like glue. Actually, it's very thick. Okay, it's not runny like our regular re-inkers. So when you'll need to squeeze it quite hard to actually, not so much when it's brand new because you'll have it, it'll be full, and you'll see it doesn't sink into your ink pad like your regular ink does. Can you see it just sits there on top? All right, and that's because it's a different consistency. White ink is pigment ink. Okay, now I'm going to talk about this in the class as well. Pigment ink is a totally different type of ink to our water-based inks. The classic inks in all our different colors are water-based. This is not. Okay, this is a pigment ink, and so the nature of this type of ink is very different and has different properties that lend itself to different types of techniques. So for example, you can't emboss with our classic inks because they dry immediately, and so therefore embossing powder won't stick to classic inks. You need a sticky ink, and that's what this is. This is a bit of a sticky ink because it takes quite a long time to dry. Okay, yeah, exactly. And viscous is exactly the right word, Jean. So the Versamark is another great example. It's a little bit tacky. Embossing powder sticks to it really well. And in fact, most of the time, I do actually prefer to use my Versamark when it comes to embossing. Okay, so embossing, Versamark is clear, right? And this pad actually is not too bad. They get really yucky over the years. They get really, and I actually have a brand new one sitting here that I haven't even opened because when my existing one gets too yucky, then I'll be ready to grab a new Versamark. But you can refill Versamarks, just a little aside. You can refill Versamarks, but I usually don't bother because by the time it needs refilling, it looks so yucky that I'm ready to just get a new pad. So, all right. So what I'm going to do, now I've got this, and you can see it's not really, it kind of goes in a little bit. I don't know if you can see that, but it's also kind of also sitting on top of the pad. And then what you want to do is you want to get a spoon, and I'm going to use the back of the spoon to rub the ink in. Now, some of you may have seen me do this before with our regular inks when you first get them and they're very, very wet and very, and let me just put that back in and click it in, that when you first get them, they're very wet. They can be a little bit bubbly, especially on a solid stamp. And so it also, distributing the ink into the pad with a spoon is a good idea for those as well. So when I have a new pad that's very wet, that's what I usually do. But you will need to do it with your white pad to distribute the ink that you've just put on top by dotting it. You can, I've seen people, you can dot it all over, or you can, do stripes backwards and forwards, but you're still going to have to give it a good old massage and get the ink into it well. And it just gives you a better stamping surface if you do that. Okay. I'll just show you something. Give me a moment. I'm just going to grab a piece of, yeah, that'll do. I'm just going to grab a piece of, actually, let me find a color. Let's just grab a piece of any scrap out of my scrap drawer. Now, if I wanted to, let's pick a stamp. This one will do. This, actually, I need a smaller stamp on this block. That'll do. The little splodgy stamp out of this Nature's Print set. Okay, if I was to ink up with the dryer pad, okay, can you see it doesn't, even though I've pressed it, it hasn't fully inked up. Can you see that? That's a good idea too. an extra white pad, and you can ink it with the tuxedo black for a larger black pad. What a great tip. Thanks, Jean. That's a really good tip. All right, so when I do this, this is not very dark, okay? But now that I've just inked this pad, and you should see it's a lot wider on our pad here. And it also stamps a lot wider. Can you see that? So it definitely pays you to keep your, if you're going to be using your white ink a lot, you want to keep them refilled and give them a good, you know, every now and then you want to give them a bit of a refill, right? You can buy the refills by themselves to buy more refill if you would like more refill. Now I'm going to pour this over the first one that I did, and you can see it has worked. It is sticky. Even that little bit that I had put on, and then I'm going to do the bigger one that I stamped a little bit more effectively. Now, I don't know if you can see this. Even though they both worked, it has stuck on this one better. Can you see it's a bit darker, a bit more solid? Right? It's nice, isn't it? And then I would heat that with my heat tool. Now, one of the techniques in the class that I'm doing does use embossing. Okay, now if you don't have embossing tools, and I highly recommend that you do have them because they're amazing, and I might do a embossing technique class at some point. I think a lot of people do have embossing, but if you don't, for example, this card here uses embossing. Okay, you can get away with using stays on ink and coloring that, but it won't give you the same effect. Okay, so just to bear that in mind, if you're doing the class, you'll want to have access to embossing tools if you can. If you can't, you'll still learn the technique anyway, and when you have the embossing tools, that would be great. I'm just going to heat this just so that you can see how it comes up. When you first start, nothing really seems to happen. It just takes a moment for it to heat up. And this is just a sample. I'm not actually making anything with this. But we should start to see it get brighter and whiter in a moment. Here it goes. Can you see that going brighter and wider? So it's really quite solid now. And this one will work as well, but it will be a little, not quite as solid because it didn't stamp as well. So I'm going to cover using white ink, how to re-ink, how it comes when you first get it, all that kind of stuff. And that'll be part of the class as well. So we're going to go through the basics as well as going through some other great techniques. This stamp is a great stamp. It's from the Nature's Print set, Michelle. That's this one here. Can you see it? I love a good splodgy stamp. I like the word splodge too. I think that's a fun word to say, don't you? So I usually keep one ink pad because this one was an older one that I had. I keep one for like when it's a little bit drier for techniques that require a gyro pad, and then one ready to go with my ink well inked up. So there you go. All right, so I'm going to show you a different technique tonight. And I'm going to get my pad under here. This is my piercing mat. And I'm going to pop that underneath. And this is just a piece of vellum. Now, one of the white ink techniques that you will have seen me done is white embossing on vellum, and then we colour over the back of it usually with blends, but you can also use classic inks. And that's the stained glass technique. And I want to show you a slightly different take on that, but using white ink. Okay, so I'm going to use for this, I'm going to use the Hues of Happiness stamp set, which is one of my current favorites. This is one that's on the cover of the current annual catalogue. It's called Hues of Happiness, or Happiness Abounds is the name of the stamp set. The suite with the paper and everything is called Hues of Happiness. There's a demonstrator up in Queensland. Her name is Anna Wheaton, and she did something I thought was really clever this week. Some of you may have seen it. She was talking about the Hues of Happiness and put up a picture of lots of different actors all called Hugh, and asked everybody who was their Hues of Happiness. Was it Hugh Grant? Was it Hugh Jackman? Was it I can't even think of who they all are. Hugh Hefner was in there. I don't think anyone voted for him. And Hugh, who was the first one? Anyone remember? Anyone see it? I can't even remember, but anyway. All right, so let me grab, hang on, which is my inky one? This one. I didn't get the gnomes. They're cute though. I like the colors of the paper that goes with those. They're really fun. I'm just going to grab a scrap of paper. Here we go. Just going to grab a piece of paper to put on top of my mat here so I don't get white ink all over my mat. And I'm going to stamp my flower with the white ink onto our vellum. Now, vellum is another of my favorite things to use. I am a big fan of vellum. We have some beautiful new vellums coming in the new mini catalogue that comes out next month. So stay tuned for those. You can bet your life, I've ordered them. You can bet your life they're going to be showing up in my work. All right, so I'm just thinking that might be enough. All right, and then I'm going to pop that down. You can see how nicely they look. The white on the vellum doesn't it look nice? So you could, if you didn't want to emboss and you didn't have embossing tools, you could just stamp your white just like this. Heat set it with a heat tool if you have one. All right. You could, because there's no powder, you could probably even get away with using maybe a hairdryer on a hot setting. And then, you know, go over it. Now, I'm not doing that today because I'm going to use embossing powder. So I'm going to use my little container here, pop this in, and tip my white embossing powder on. You could do this with silver too. I think silver would look really nice. I haven't tried the silver, but I actually was thinking about, this is a technique I only have thought about doing in the last couple of days. I think it's because I've had my head in all the white ink stuff, and so my brain is just constantly thinking about white ink, and I was thinking, oh, I bet that works. And I tried it out a little earlier, and it did. So here we go. So then I've got this powder in my container. I'm just going to pop it back into my little tub here. I know, colouring vellum is fun, isn't it? That's cool. You don't want them in your garden, Michelle? No, it wasn't Hugh Sheridan. There was a Hugh Darcy or Darby, which I didn't know. No, the other Hugh. Hugh Laurie. Goodness me. How could we forget House? I do like him. I think he's rather good. But I think Hugh Jackman would have my vote, don't you? What do you think, guys? All right, so I'm going to heat this. I'm going to set it. It just takes a little while. Once the first one goes, the others are faster. And I just want to be careful not to, I like to put my fingers in between the flowers so I don't brush the powder off. Yep, Jackman is a favourite. I know, isn't he awesome in House? He's such a good actor. You know what? I loved him in Blackadder too. Totally, he's got such a range of talent. You know, he can do comedy, he can do sarcasm, he can do so much. You know, he's very clever, very talented actor. Okay, nice to meet you. You hear my Cookie? Cookie is a cockatiel, and I'm thinking he is 23 years old. I've had him that long. I've had him since he was about 5 weeks old when I got him. And he's still going very strong. Oh, see, I was very late to the party with The Greatest Showman, Katrina. I didn't see that until way after it came out, but I did like it. It was kind of sad too. It was a sad movie. All right. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to turn this over, and just like the stained glass technique, we're going to work on the back. All right, but we're not going to put colors. I mean, I could color these in and it would look fantastic. Okay. However, what I want to do is I want to grab my white ink pad. Oh, here it is. This one that's already open. And I'm going to grab a blending brush. Now, you could also use a sponge dauber. Sponge dauber would also do the trick. And dip it into the white ink and pick up a bit of white ink off the surface there. Okay. And then we're going to hold this down and we're going to go over the backs of the flowers, all right, with the white ink. I don't know if somebody else has already done this, but it was just an idea that came to me earlier today. So my apologies if this is somebody else's idea, but I thought I was clever when I thought of it, but probably someone else has already thought of it before. And so I'm going over each of the flowers, just staying kind of roughly inside the lines. And you're thinking, well, what's the point of that? It really doesn't show up very much. And you would be right. This is going to give us a very, very soft effect, but I want to show you what happens. All right, so I think I've got a fair amount of coverage there. If I haven't, we're going to know in a minute. All right, so I'm going to turn it back over. Can you see the white ink sort of on the back there? It's sort of a bit shiny. All right, so come over this way. And when we put it on a piece of paper, it doesn't do very much. And you're kind of thinking, well, what was the point of that? But if I put it on a white background like this, it's pretty, but you're just seeing the embossing. You're not seeing that white color at all, okay? But if you put it on a darker color, look what happens. Then we get our white ink coming out, okay? And it's very soft and very pretty. But the purple of this is Gorgeous Grape I've used here. You could pick any color you like. And so the darker the color, the more you're going to see the color coming through the vellum. If you go you could go light. I mean, you could go a soft color like a balmy blue or something, and that would be pretty. Let me grab a couple let's have a look at a couple of colors. So this is balmy blue, like I mentioned, and that's what it looks like on that. It does show. Oh no, it's a misty thing, right? And I'm just going to pick a couple. What other color should I try? What about a navy? Would that work? Let's see what navy looks like. So you could experiment with different colors and see how it looks. Too many to choose from, I know, right? This is the Orchid Opulence, this one. And that's quite nice, but not that dissimilar to the grape, to be honest. And this is Melon Mambo. Melon Mambo looks rather good, doesn't it? Doesn't that look nice? I like the Melon Mambo. And then the navy. Navy doesn't. The background just looks grey with the melon, which is fine, but I don't think it shows up as nice. So which color will we pick? I mean, I was going to go Orchid Opulence. Orchid Opulence. Let me start again. Gorgeous Grape is the color I was going to go with, and I think I still will just go with that. All right, so just to give you an idea of, and it's a very soft effect. All right, so how are we going to attach it? Now, a couple of things to bear in mind. This is still where I put that white ink. It's still kind of wet, kind of tacky, and there's a couple of things. You could heat set it, which would look fine, and I wonder if I can find my embossing buddy. Ah, yes, I know where it is. Here it is. Now, you could heat set it with a heat tool, okay, and run that over the back, and that would help set that white a little bit. Or you can grab an embossing buddy and just gently put that on top. Now, for those of you who are saying, hey, but you guys don't sell embossing buddies anymore, guess what's coming back in the July catalogue? Those of you who didn't have an embossing buddy, you'll be able to get one now. So that's a cool thing. That's in the mini coming next month. All right, so now that I've done that, there's no tackiness there. All right, so it's not sticky anymore. All right, I've just got a bit of powder on my fingers. Oh yeah, Blackberry Bliss would be a good choice. I agree. Some of the colors, black, can you see? Yes, let's have a look. What does black look like? I think it'll just go grey on black, but it still might look nice. So this is black. Let's see what that looks like. So yeah, it's nice, but it's grey. You know, this color is grey because, of course, white and black makes grey, right? You have, Nari. Oh, that's good. You got in there. All right, so I'm going to stick with this one. And what I did was I cut this with one of the stitch rectangle dies before I started, and I cut my gorgeous great, actually this is just one pass. I put the two together and ran them through, okay, to cut them both out at the same time, just to save myself a bit of trouble or a bit of time. And what I would suggest probably, just run my fingers over that now that we've got that. So the white won't come off my fingers because I've got that bit of powder on there from the embossing buddy. And I'm just going to add a glue dot behind. Now this will be interesting to see if it sticks, given that we have the powder on there as well as the white ink. So I don't know how it's going to go sticking. But if it doesn't stick well, and it may be, oh, it's transferred. No, it hasn't. So glue dots are out. Let's not do those. What we could do is use mini, I could use Tombow, but better than that I think would be, seeing as we've got flower centers, let's try and see how putting a mini dimensional in the middle of each flower center would work. So I'm working this out. Like I said to you, I had this idea earlier today, and then I haven't tried it out before. So, well, I tried it out briefly earlier, but I didn't actually glue it together. So, see, that one doesn't want to stick. This might be my only challenge, is actually getting it to stick well. Because when I go to take the backs off, they want to come too. That one's staying. Anyone got any other suggestions? Stamp and Seal works. There you go. That's a good idea, Angie. But do you know, Stamp and Seal, they don't sell that in Australia. They sell it in New Zealand, but not in Australia. And when we went to New Zealand back in 2019, people went to Woolies and bought them out of all their Stamp and Seal. Woolies in town near the convention centre. Everyone was buying Stamp and Seal. I've still got some in the cupboard from when I went to Auckland back in 2019. How funny is that? So it's a little bit tricky to get this stick going. Whoops, one of those fell off too. But let's see what we can do. Okay, well that's staying, but the ends are wanting to lift. So I'm going to try one bigger dimensional behind here and see if I can get that to stick. So this might be our challenge. We might all be learning something, especially me. All right, I'm going to come up with a solution for this. It looks good. You remember that back in Auckland? I know. Bronwyn and I stayed together when we went to Auckland. And, yeah, ribbon around the card might work. I know. Press and seal. Exactly. That's the stuff. So I'm thinking I need to come up with a solution to see how this works, because it looks really good. But how are we going to stick it once we've got our powder over the back? I mean, maybe I am better off heat setting it and seeing if that works. I don't know. All right. So what I wanted to do with this card was this. I wanted to do a basic white thick card base, and then my panel here with my beautiful soft roses on. You know, I was thinking too, what would look nice was if I had this back panel slightly larger than the panel on top. That would look good as well. So let's just see if seal will work with it. Can't hurt at this point, right? Let me take all that off. Because if I put it over the back of the embossed bits, it shouldn't show through. No, it doesn't want to. It doesn't really want to go on. So, okay, tear and tape maybe. Don't know. Tombow, shall we try it? We're all learning, guys. The cool thing is, I feel like I know you guys all so well. It doesn't. This is not what I would call a disaster. I would call this a learning experience. And I don't think you guys mind, because I know that we've got to start somewhere, right? I'm determined to make this work. All right. Yeah, the Tombow actually doesn't look bad. I thought it might have looked bad behind there. I thought you might be able to see it, but you can't. The Tombow's going to work. Hooray. Now I've handled it a bit. I've got some other white bits here in the middle, but that's okay. That's maybe a good place for my sentiment. I was planning on putting this on here and then putting a sentiment at the bottom, but I'm thinking maybe a sentiment here in the middle might be the go. And that's how it's going to look. So when I'm finished, you'll see this. I think it's kind of cool, and I like the softness of it, but I think it would have looked better if I'd had a bigger piece at the back so that the purple stood out a little bit more. Don't you agree? I think that would have been better. And I would use, and the stamped sentiment, I think, should also be in gorgeous gray. Okay, so does anyone remember? Yeah, you could sponge over the glue, although it didn't. Definitely, it didn't matter when I just put this Tombow straight on. You couldn't see it, so that was still a really cool thing. All right, so I want to show you something else tonight. That's card number 1, 817. Let's see how we go. I got a brand new set of products, and I haven't even touched them yet, apart from I put this stamp onto a block, okay? But all the others are still brand new in their packs. That's the only one I've taken out so far. It's called Happier Than Happy. Isn't that a cute name, that stamp set? I think that's so cute. And it's in your catalogues up here towards the front. Let me just find it. Here it is. It's called Happy Forest Friends. Has anyone seen this? That's a good idea too, Michelle. All right, so the Happy Forest Friends is, I think this is really cool. So you've got this beautiful paper, which we'll have a look at in a second. We've got this super cute stamp set. Now, part of the reason I got this is one of my closest friends became a grandmum for the first time this week, and I wanted to make her a card, and I realized I'm really short on baby sets. And okay, this isn't specifically a baby set, but it does have a hello baby in it, okay, and a Happier Than Happy for you. I mean, these are nice cards to give to someone who has a new baby in around. So I was thinking that'd be fun. And I also thought you've got a little stamp here of a pine tree, okay, and in the dies there's these other little pine trees. Can you see those here? These little ones. So I thought you could even make it a Christmas. You could even use this card for Christmas, this stamp set. So with all that in mind, here they are under here. Here's the dies. See these ones? So this one cuts out the stamp. This one is just a standalone die, and it's kind of like a little drawn pine tree, which is super cute. And I just thought that could be easily used for a Christmas card. So I'm sure you'll see some Christmassy things coming up with this one. The other thing that is in here, so you've got the stamps and the dies, and then you've also got this fantastic paper. And, oh, where's the other thing? Here it is. So like most of the suites in the annual catalogue, the whole suite consists of the paper, the stamps, the dies, and look at this scrumptious ribbon. It's delicious. I love it. Look at it. Isn't that beautiful? So the colours are, I believe it's Sahara Sand and Old Olive. It will tell me in the catalogue. Let me quickly find it again. I should have paid attention to what page number that was on. Where's Megan tonight? She tells us where the page numbers are. She's so good at that. Oh, you used it in Shani's class last week. How cool. I know, very cute factor. Agreed. Okay, so the paper is Old Olive and Sahara Sand, and it's a twill cotton ribbon. So the ribbon by itself, that double pack, is $14. The paper is $21. The stamp set is $42, and the die bundle, the dies, is how much are they by themselves? The bundle is $85.50 for the stamps and the dies, but I was just looking to see the die price by itself. It doesn't actually have that there. Oh yes, it's up here. Where is it? No, it's just got the bundle price. So I can't see the price of the dies by themselves. But either way, you save 10% if you're buying them together as a bundle, and that's normally what I would recommend. Where are we here? Here it is. So the dies by themselves are $53. There we go. here on page 163, but the bundle is 10% off when you're getting the stamps and the dies together. Super cute. But as always with a big suite, you can, if you want to, save a little bit of your 10% and put in the code 158956, which is actually the code for everything rather than picking and choosing. So if you love all of it, you can just put in one code and get the whole lot for $120.50. Okay, so I know the new mini has puff paint. Who's excited about that? Me. Definitely, yes, like a snow effect on it. Exactly like that. It's super, super cute. Oh, Megan has COVID. Is she okay? Some people have been struggling with it so much, and other people seem to, you know, it's like a breeze. I don't understand. You know, my son, like I said, has had it 3 times, and each time he basically said each time has been easier than the last. It's like he's just getting better at it or something. The first time it kind of knocked him a little bit. He was sick for a few days. The second time he was sick for maybe 2 days, and this time probably 1 day, and he's been feeling fine ever since. So it's, you know, it's a bit crazy. Yeah, it's another really nice item. All right, so if anyone's in touch with Megan, can you please wish her to get better fast, please? That'd be nice. I was wondering why she wasn't here tonight, because she's usually on the ball. When I don't know something, she's jumping on to tell me what it is. Cute little mushrooms. How gorgeous are these? And on the back, we just got this really pretty pattern. The colours in this paper are Basic Grey, Blushing Bride, Calypso Coral, which is the colour of those mushrooms, Mossy Meadow, Old Olive, Sahara Sand, Smoky Slate, Soft Suede, and So Saffron. So it's a really kind of a naturey, you know, lots of greens and nature colours. How cute is this? Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Little foxes and owls, and there's stamps of these as well. Really, really cute little mountains that look like, they look like they've been, I don't know, they're out of a children's book or something. Super, super cute. Thank you, Angie. I really appreciate that. And then on the back, we've got this lovely little, I'd say that's your So Saffron there on the back. Little, almost a herringbone design. Then we have some trees, just trees. Aren't they nice? I'd like to put my bear in front of those trees. I think he'll be cute if I do that with him, don't you think? Yes, you could use it with gnomes. You could. Absolutely. On the back here, we've got some little tiny leaves, which are kind of little wiggly ones. They're really cute. Love this little like foresty paper. You've got some acorns in here, but you've also got like little flowers and buds as well as your leaves. It's really nice. And that's your Mossy Meadow and your Old Olive together, which are 2 colours that always look good together. A bit of Sahara Sand in there as well. So that's a really nice colour combo. On the back, you've got like little circles, little dots and dashes making up the circles there. Then we have some little tree trunks. Did anyone notice the big tree trunk set in the new mini catalogue that's coming out? It's got matching dies. That's really cute. And there's paper in the Celebration catalogue that matches that as well. On the back, we've got like little crosses getting towards the back of the paper. Now this one, how cute is this? Look at your little bears and foxes and owls. So, 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 so cute. Love it. They're really great. Yeah, you could definitely use this with the gnome set. They go really well together. And on the back, these remind me of like little birdie footprints. That's probably because I have a bird. One of these days I'll get Cookie out and get him to jump around the table while I'm working. He's great, but he's very nervous about coming out and I have to keep the door closed because you can just imagine there's another family member that is very interested in Cookie. A little bit too interested, and with that in mind, we have to make sure Cookie stays safe. So these are cute. Aren't they cute? All right, so what I wanted to show you, someone had asked me, and I wonder if it was Megan. Someone had asked me, would I show this? This is brand new. It's in our annual catalogue, and it's called Masking Paper. And basically, it's really, really thin paper, and it has a joint in the back here so that you can peel the back off because it's sticky. Okay, but it's stickier than a Post-it note, but not so sticky that it's going to rip your paper when you take it off. And that is the point, that you could use this for masking. Okay, so I'm actually going to stamp on this. I haven't done this before, and I'm assuming, I haven't looked to see any videos or anything. I'm just assuming I can because it feels like normal paper to me. And I'm going to ink up my bear. I'm going to ink him up in soft suede. I'm wondering if my soft suede might be a little dry. Let's try. I'm just going to stamp here on my page first and see how he comes out. Oh, he's quite nice, isn't he? Look at him. We like him. All right, I didn't think it was coming out very much, but actually it looks just fine. Soft suede is a medium brown, one of my favorite browns because it looks great. It's great for antiquing things. If you want to go over the edges of a page, you can see I cut a bear out of the masking paper already, and I'm just going to pop him here. And the join goes down the middle of the paper. So I've got his head on one side of the join and his body on the other. Okay, and I'm just going to have him here like this. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut him out. Yes, I could use a die. The problem with using the die, let me just show it to you. Okay, here's the die. Okay, when I put my die on, look, it's not, oh, maybe I could use this. The thing is, when you use masking, okay, and you want to mask off a subject, you need to actually cut really right on the line. And most of our dies cut an image out and leave a tiny little border. Okay, and that's how it should look. That's what looks best. But when you're masking, you don't want that little border because that actually creates a gap in your project. So what I might do is just show you for demonstration purposes. I'm going to close that so Jody doesn't have a meltdown. I mean that with love, by the way. You see, you're helping me be better by forcing me to have better habits. Although, you know, I don't know that I'm ever going to get very good at putting pad lids on. And I'm actually going to bring in my big machine. And I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can see better. Which means you'll also be able to see more of my messy desk. But, oh well, that's okay. All right, so I'm just putting this down. And I'm going to put this through. And we're going to cut it. All right. So I've stamped on, so you got the one side, you know which is the right side to stamp on because the other side has the join and the bit that you can peel, okay? So you want to stamp on the other side from that join. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this out because I want to demonstrate why die cutting, it will work, but not as well. So in this case, I want to create a picture with two bears. And I'm going to mask off one bear so that one bear looks like he's standing behind the other. And that's a really cool thing you can do with masking paper. Right now, I could just cut this out of normal paper, like printer paper. Now, this is not too bad. I nearly picked up that, or tried to. Okay, not too bad, but can you see what I mean about there being a little bit of a gap between the cut line and the actual drawing? And that gap is actually going to show on our project. So if, for example, okay, I stamp this little bear here, okay, and then I want another bear. I want it to be, what I would do is I put this little guy straight over the top, but let's do, will I do it? Yeah. No, I'm not going to do it because I want to cut it out. So if I put this on here and then I stamp another bear next to it, it's going to look like this bear is in front of the other bear, okay? But there's going to be a gap where this didn't actually, so you're better off to cut it by hand. You can, to save time, you can do the die cutting, but my suggestion is that you do it by hand. Okay, so I'm actually going to take the trouble to do that because it's going to give me a better result. And I'm going to cut right on the line or slightly inside the line because there's the halo effect which is caused by the paper itself. Now, the thinner the paper, and this masking paper is really thin, so that makes it much easier to do this, the less you have to worry about the halo effect. And the halo effect is the little gap that you get when you stamp on something, okay? The thicker the paper, the more the halo effect is going to affect you. So I'm cutting this almost on the line, ever so slightly inside the line, so I'm really just cutting off. Can everyone sort of see what I'm doing here? I know it's not very exciting video watching someone cut out an image like this, but it'll be worth it, I promise. So I'm cutting it out on that line or slightly inside, but because the paper is really thin, you don't have to go much inside, if at all. But if I was doing this on, say, Whisper White cardstock, yes, I would definitely want to be inside the line of the paper. The line of the image, I mean. See, I'm having to concentrate, so it's making me go quiet. I see you guys chatting away to each other, so that's good. At least you don't have to just sit here and watch me cut. So the exciting news, I told some of you I was thinking about going to New Orleans for the Backstage event, which is the leader event that Stampin' Up is putting on over there in August. I've booked my tickets, guys. I've booked my flights, and I've registered for the conference. So excited because I'm rooming with, some of you know I'm very good friends with Susan Campfield, and I'm rooming with her. And you know what? We've never met in real life. I'm going to bring this down again. I just realized we're still zoomed out. Sorry. Yes, thank you, Margaret. I see you just told everybody that. Let me just see if I can get this straight again. There we go. Nearly there. So that's exciting, isn't it? Sorry, guys. I'll try and, it's a bit more, probably not a lot more interesting zoomed in than zoomed out, but you'll be able to see what I'm doing better. So a couple of things about cutting. You notice I'm using not the ends of the scissors. I'm using this as close to the center of the scissors as I can. It gives you a better cut line. And move your paper rather than moving your scissors. And that'll also give you a better cut line. If you don't perfectly stay on the line, don't panic. It's not the end of the world. This is a technique that does allow you a little bit of movement. So don't worry if it's not perfect. You don't have to be. And I'm not a believer in being perfect at nearly anything. So I'm a firstborn. So I do have perfectionist tendencies. But I'm also these days much better at letting go because, gee, you'd get yourself away from a lot of stress if you don't have to be perfect all the time. Plus, it makes it easier for people to relate to you. If you're too perfect all the time, no one can do that, right? So, yeah. Any other firstborns in the room? It is exciting, Jodie. I know, and Shani's going too. So I'm hoping to get to know Shani a little bit, but I've only met Shani in real life once. And for those of you that know Courtney is in my team. She's going as well. And she and Shani are good friends. So they met up in Orlando some years ago. All right. So basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to be putting this little bear over the top of the original bear. So let's stamp a bear on some actual paper. So I'm going to stamp this one. Do we want the bear on the left, the second bear on the left, or the right? Where do we want the second bear? Don't forget the bear that we stamp second is going to be behind this one. All right, so I'm going to stamp first. So maybe I'll make my bears different colors. She's so excited. I know, it's very exciting. I know. And Susan and I feel like, you know, because we talk every day and I feel like we know each other so well, but we've never met actually. So I'm very excited. We're spending 3 nights in a hotel room and soaking up all the things about on stage. So the second one should be to the left. Is that right? Is that what we're saying? So, okay. And should we do a different color one? Maybe I've got one brown bear. Should I do 2 brown bears? Or should I do a different color bear? I'm deciding. We could do a light brown bear. We could have a crumb cake bear. Crumb cake sounds funny for a bear, doesn't it? Well, let's see what the crumb cake looks like next to this color. Or I could go darker and do an early espresso bear. See, he might be too light. What do you think, guys? Dark and light brown bears. Okay. That's useful. And Donna said that. Pity there wasn't a baby bear. Yes, then we'd have 3 bears. All right, so this is early espresso, which I don't think it comes out a lot different to the soft suede, to be honest. Oh, it is a bit. Now, let's go to the early espresso. So we've got a medium bear and a medium bear, not bear, and So I'm going to do my first bear in soft suede. So the masking paper comes in a pack of, how many sheets in a pack of masking paper? I can't remember. Goodness me, where's Megan when you need her? Here it is, Stampin' Up masking paper, and there's 12 sheets in there, okay? And so, you know, you can use each sheet a number of times. So I'm going to put this bear here. Like so. And then I'm going to take the back. See, I've got my join halfway there. I'm going to take the back off my masking paper so it's sticky. And I'm going to stick this bear down. And this is where we're deciding. We said we want the second bear to the left. The good thing about putting the bear to the left will be that that only, oh, look, I've got a mark. We'll just have to have a greeting. Either I put my bear here or we put our bear here. I think maybe to the left is a good idea because then only one bear has his hand in the air because the other one will have his hand hidden behind the first bear. All right, so I'm going to go in with the early espresso. Oh, yes, mirror stamping. That'd be cute. We should give that a try. All right, so this is the second bear, and I'm going to put him sort of to the left, tiny bit higher to the left. All right, so, okay, so this is what I mean about the halo. Can you see the halo, that little bit of a gap there? All right. If I had cut a tiny bit more inside the line, we wouldn't have that gap. All right. Even with masking paper, you still get a bit of gap. So now I'm going to lift this up and peel it off. And one bear is behind the other bear. Look at that. Don't they look cute? Such a cool little technique. I think that's really fun. Or high five, yes, they could be high-fiving. So I'm just looking here and thinking, how can I get, what can I stamp here that I can get maybe a pine tree there, maybe? I could also have a fox coming out from behind here. Or we could stamp the little, maybe that's what we do. I know, isn't it cute? Such an easy thing to do, masking. So you stamp something, put your masked cut image over the top, peel off the backing and then put it over the top so it sticks down, and then stamp again next to it. And what that does is it means that your second image then looks like it's coming out from behind your first image. Now, even with that little bit of halo, it still looks good, but there is something you could do about that. You could use a blending pen. Let me see if I've got one that hasn't been used for something else. Give me a second. Now I could use a blender pen or I could use a water painter as well, but I'm thinking a blender pen might be better. I'm trying to find one that doesn't have color on it. This one's not bad. So we could pick up a little bit of that color and run it close to this. Or because that's the darker bear, this one here, I can pick up a tiny bit of Fully Espresso with my blender pen and get rid of the darkest part of the ink and then blend that in. And so on. Okay, so it gives you a bit of an idea of things you can do with it anyway, colour it in. Yeah, I think so. I think exactly what I wanted to do, Michelle. So we will do exactly that. I'm going to put the stump. I'm going to put my bear back on again, and we're going to put the stump stamp. So I'm just putting my stamp together. Like I said, I haven't even put these stamps together yet. That's how new they are. So I'm going to stick this onto my block, take off the label and then add it to the stamp. This is a really nice, kind of got that distinctive look about it where it gives you the light and the dark. And I might do this one in concave maybe. That might be too light. We'll go up to early espresso again, I think. So somebody asked me to do masking, and this is a masking technique. Wouldn't even know there was a smudge there now, would you? And while I've got these out, I'm going to grab some Mossy Meadow, and we're going to stamp some trees at the same time in the background. So it's good if you want to stamp a background behind an image that you've already stamped in front. I'll get my tree. And this is just a white piece of paper. It's just started out as a white piece of paper, but I think you can see where we're going with it. It's going to look really fun when this card is finished. I'm going Mossy Meadow. We've still got our bear here in place. Ah, I've got another mark. Goodness me, look at me. I've got too much ink. This is a brand new pad. One of those days. Oh well. I promise you the white ink class is going to be all together and very professional. I promise. Let me see if I can get that better. That's better. So now when I take my bear off, you can see that they've got those trees there behind them. Gives you an idea anyway. I hope that I kind of messed it up a little bit, but you know, some nights this is just my life. And then I think maybe some a blender pen brought in to add some colour. I've actually got, let's go some balmy blue. And then if I'm going to add colour over the top with a blender pen, I want to use my masking paper again. Put that back over the bear. Oh, there you go. I just dropped my paper, but that's okay. Now I'm going to take that off and I'm going to move it and put it over my other bear, and we'll do his head as well. So can you see how just with one image starting in the middle, we start building a scene? Take that off. Oh, gosh. I've got a little bit of a rip there in the middle. I was too quick. So you do want to pull it off gently. You don't want to rip it off like I just did. But you can see I fixed it. And so on, you know. So it'll end up being a really cute little project. The paper, is that what you mean, Jody? It's cool. That's a good idea too, Bronwyn. Yes, we'll definitely need some shadows down the bottom here, or we need some grass maybe down the bottom. We could easily use a blender pen and bring some grass down to the bottom of this. That would be easily done. So I'm going to continue working with this. It looks like tonight I am not actually showing you a finished project. Goodness me. because it's 8:45 and I know you guys have all got lives and other things you want to do and other places to go, right? So we had some fun tonight. And I do really, really, really like the way that the masking tape works with these. But you can use them with any stamp set. It doesn't have to be the bears. It can be absolutely anything. Some flowers where you want some flowers to look like they're behind others. You stamp your flower, you cut another one out, you stick it over the top of the flower that you stamped, and then you start stamping other flowers behind. Okay. No finished card. Oh my goodness. What's happening? But I mean, I'm going to sit here and finish this card right now and put it up so you guys can see it. I think it's still going to be really cute, and wait till you see what it looks like when we're finished. But it's a bit of fun. Yeah, good for sponging stuff. Exactly right. Yeah, and you can rip it and use the ripped edge to do some really cool things like mountains in the distance, that kind of thing. So, yeah. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to say goodnight. I've got to finish writing my blog post with all the details about the white ink online class. I'm hoping that some of you will purchase it because I think it's going to be fantastic. I'm very excited about doing it. And if this class works really, really well, then I'm hoping to be able to offer more classes in the future. So I hope that you will enjoy it and tell other people about it, and let's pass it on and get the word out there. So thank you so very much. Thanks for sharing the night with me tonight. Even though I didn't come up with a finished card, we had a lot of fun and we did a few different things and we learned some stuff as well. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.